Overwatch 2 character redesigns are out, so I figured I'd go through and give them all my personal objective rating. My 5 ratings are major upgrade, minor upgrade, some given, some taken, minor downgrade, and of course major downgrade. Anna. Anna's old, somewhat dirty and torn up garbs have been replaced by new clean garbs in perfect condition. This is going to be a common trend among redesigns where small scrapes, nicks, scratches, and damages are removed in exchange for a more cleaner and less weathered version of the character. I dislike this choice because it removes a lot of small extra detail that made the characters come to life just a little bit more. Does it really make sense for some old-timey Egyptian sniper turned bounty hunter to have such a sleek and clean look? On top of that, her biotech grenades are no longer visibly strapped along her, and she also lost her small medical cross on her armor. You can say that these are just small details and that they don't really matter, and well, yeah, you'd be pretty right. But it's the fact that they are such small details which makes it kind of aggravating and seemingly arbitrary that they weren't kept. Minor downgrade. Ash and Bob. The changes to Ash and Bob are incredibly minuscule, and I had a hard time choosing between minor downgrade and some given and some taken. I ended up settling on minor downgrade because although the changes are minuscule, they are all either bad or neutral. Bob's collar is no longer fur. Oh no, I guess. The things I do take some issue with are the changes that hurt their more unique aesthetic. Another trend I've noticed with these redesigns is that Overwatch is trying to make a more uniform aesthetic for all its characters, and I dislike this because, once again, it takes away the uniqueness that adds depth to these characters. Bob's cowboy boots, belt, and jeans have been replaced by semi-futuristic oboes and cargo pants. Ash used to have taller cowboy boots and more rustic-looking pants, equipped with a holster. These have been swapped out with suburban jeggings. Ash's old tie that went well with the whole gentleman cowboy duo Bob and her had has been replaced with cleavage, which I know some people won't take issue with, but still. Ash's old white undershirt with large collars and cuffs that also match the aesthetic is also gone now. And as a cherry on top, some of the old wear and tear on Bob's old vest is gone once again, removing just a little bit more detail. Minor downgrade. Baptiste. I'm going to come out and say Baptiste's redesign was a breath of fresh air for me as I was looking through all these other redesigns. Although the old Baptiste design had some nicks and faded paint that weren't carried over, they were incredibly negligent, and it's a little more understandable, although not completely, for a combat medic to look more put together than a cowboy duo or elderly bounty hunter. Baptiste's new hair, for one, is cooler, but what I like most is how he looks more like a medic instead of a Dolphins fan. The white outfit and addition of a medical cross makes more sense for his character. Call me generous, but I'm ranking this a major upgrade. Bastion. Out of all the things Blizzard did to Bastion, this was easily the biggest nerf he received. The uniform aesthetic and removal of small detail trends are both in full effect right here. Bastion looks less like the blocky, transforming mechanic golem with a violent past we are used to, but instead looks like a plastic Happy Meal toy designed so kids won't hurt themselves on it. They took away everything. The wear on the face from time, the scrapes and marks from combat, the stains on his arm from dirt, the mud on his boots from marching through muddy battlefields, the caution signs on his knees showing his size and danger, even the E54 stamped on his side. This isn't a grizzled mechanized veteran with a dark past. This is a robotic Care Bear, and no admittedly cool, cute baseball cap is going to take away from that. Major downgrade. Bridget. Although the gear symbol she had symbolizing her connection with her father is gone, an animal head was added onto her shoulder armor, showing her connection to Reinhardt, which I find much cooler looking, to be frank. Even though her new chest plate is slightly more uniform with the Overwatch aesthetic than her older one, her new cloak is much more in line with her unique medieval aesthetic, and I'm for it. I was thinking between some taken, some given, and minor upgrade, but because the things given were a lot cooler than the things taken, I'm rating this a minor upgrade. Cassidy. His cowboy pants seem less cowboy, more of a uniform Overwatch aesthetic. His poncho has turned more into something that Ruby would probably wear. His arm no longer matches his gun, but it does happen to be pretty reminiscent of Echo's tech, which makes sense considering the relations between the two. He no longer carries flashes, and I understand why, but I'm still salty about it. And finally, all the tears in the poncho that Nick on his hat that told the story of Cassidy's cowboy adventures are all gone now. Minor downgrade. Doomfist. Goddamn. Sure, they took away the war paint, but look at those pants. Blizzard went the exact opposite route it took with a lot of these other characters of aesthetic uniformity, and instead chose to embrace some Yoruba flair. This can be seen with his new arm, too. On top of that, he finally dropped his free feet lifestyle. Despite being a warrior, Doomfist never really had any major marks or visible damages in his original design, except maybe the torn cloth around his waist, but to be honest, he was probably the one who did that damage in the first place. Either way, I'm firm in my decision. Major upgrade. Diva. I have a few mixed feelings on Diva. Her new suit seems a little less like the sponsored futuristic NASCAR driver she was built up to be, with fewer designs covering her outfit. Her iconic bunny has been moved to her shoulder and is slightly less visible. Her mech is a little more angular, a little less round, and a little less pink, which all goes against her original aesthetic, although it doesn't exactly fall under the uniform Overwatch aesthetic others have fallen to. I'm gonna rank Diva this video's first, some given, some taken. Echo. Echo just had her gold trims turn silver. That's not even some taken, some given. That's just nothing. She gets her own category. Genji. Oh, sweet Genji. Genji went from a muscular, bona fide, awesome cyborg ninja to some British roadman. His metallic muscles and chest symbols and cybernetics have all been covered up with a hoodie and a pair of sweats. Even his metallic shoes have been replaced with trashy, off-brand Adidas. Major downgrade. Hanzo. Hanzo suffered a less extreme version of his brother's ailments. Instead of covering up an amazing metallic cyborg bod, it's only covering up like one pec. The darker look makes sense for a stealth character though, and doesn't look as as Genji's. I always imagine Hanzo as more of a traditionalist character, so I'm not sure how much this works. Moving away from the outfit, I also have to admire his fuller goatee, as it does make him look arguably cooler than his Overwatch 1 counterpart. I was leaning heavily towards minor upgrade, and to be honest, I'm not super confident in this, but my final answer is some given, some taken. Junkrat. His wheel seems to obey the laws of physics just slightly more. He's down a tooth, and he's got a cool new pair of goggles with that match his character very well. Either way, I can't help but just be a little disappointed that his fiery hair had been padded down so much. The pants are cleaner, more put together, his eyebrows slightly more groomed, and his soot-covered face now more washed. This kind of feels like Junkrat's been going through a program to help ex-convicts reinsert into society. All in all, his personality seems to have just been scaled down. Minor downgrade. Lucio. Lucio didn't have anything major done to him. His color scheme is a little different. His pants don't seem so metallic, which makes sense for a DJ. He's got long sleeves now. His goggles are more visible. They also redid his hair, and I gotta say, it looks a little funky on this model. Other than that, no major changes are really present. Some given, some taken. Mei. Mei's new getup seems a little less polar exploring. The boots seem to have less grip. She's lost her Batman utility belt. Some of her jackets and boots' fluff is gone. Her gloves are more armored, but lost her cool designs. And the worst casualty is the loss of her iconic hairpin. Hard choice between this and some given, some taken, but since small things were taken and no small things were really given, minor downgrade. Mercy. It seems she's lost her little wings insignia. Her cross was moved a bit. Her new color scheme is more consistent, and I personally like her new cloth wings and armor. Her hair is a little more Karen-y than her previous design, and her halo was also less visible. Regardless, maybe I'm feeling bad for all my previous negativity, but minor upgrade. Moira. Although the character design is much lighter, they somehow managed to make her look even more dark academia. Replacing yet another random, admittedly somewhat bland breastplate with a much cooler button coat makes sense for this character, and it actually moves away from a stale uniform aesthetic. The shoes aren't as goofy looking anymore, her eye patch thingy is more menacing, and removing the plates in her forehead also made her look more dead inside. All of which is great for the character. I've stuck between a minor and a major, but was feeling a little generous. Plus, her new arm is sick. Major upgrade. Orisa. My favorite tank when I don't need a move or when someone else took Diva. Orisa is another victim of the removal of visible damages in depth. Other than that, there are very few meaningful changes that were made to her. Her cloth no longer contains her insignia in it. Her gun looks cooler. and I have mixed feelings on the head. I don't mind the changes to the tusks, but I'm not sure about the idea of giving robots some hair. Some given, some taken. Farah. Firstly, I'm glad to see the rocket seems less like a red crayon now, and I can't say anything else fantastic about the new Farah though. The new white and blue design doesn't give as much hot rod flair as her original navy and gold design did. From the helmet visor to the shoulders, the breastplate to the hips, everything seems less angular and more smoothed over, similar to what happened with Bastion. All in all, it seems they moved away from her original aesthetic, which I loved. I think they even toned down the design in her helmet's wings and took away her cool earrings. Admittedly, earrings don't make that much sense considering battles and whatnot, and we don't even see them in the game, but everything else I said still stands. Minor downgrade. Reaper. Reaper somehow looks even edgier than he did in the original game. With no visible leg armor, he now only has black heavy pants. His trench coat is longer than it was in Overwatch 1 and now includes coattails. And his armored shoes look more like a couple of pumped up kicks. Unfortunately, he no longer has comically large shells to fit his comically large guns. If there was any major loss, his mask looks more like steel and less like actual bone, which I thought was actually sick. Some given, some taken. Reinhardt. Reinhardt's new little chest line is awesome and is going to be the reason I rank him one spot higher than I probably should. I miss his cool helmet, but, Santa Claus is pretty cool too. His armor isn't as reflective, making it seem less medieval knighty, and in general his armor seems to be all around more futuristic and more in line with the ever-present uniform Overwatch aesthetic. There's a significant decrease in damages done to the armor, which makes even less sense than some other characters, considering half of what people know him for is the guy that gets shot at a lot. He's moved from an 08 to an 09. His color palette no longer contains every color in the German flag with the loss of red, but I enjoy the new mustard yellow color design as well. His rhino boots have been replaced with hog boots, and that's an excellent segue. Roadhog. He seems to be slightly more of an Audi now. His hook no longer looks like it would be able to straight up murder someone, which I dislike. The man bun's gone, a hawk is now in. His shoes are now polished instead of rusted. His crotch guard is missing, and all in all, nothing's really happened here. That makes me love this new design. He wasn't nerfed as hard as his Junkrat was, but the changes made were nothing fantastic and somewhat backwards in my opinion. Minor downgrade. Sigma. This redesign is hardly more than a recolor, and for the record, I thought his original colors were much cooler. Minor downgrade. Soldier 76. There are no longer canisters strapped to his belt. There seems to be a slight move away from his original Americana design with the redoing of his leather jacket. Nonetheless, it was a sin for Blizzard to keep that gorgeous goatee away from us this long. Some given, some taken. Sombra. The toe socks are still very much in here. They seem to have dived more into Sombra's cyberpunk aesthetic, but dropped some of the trenchcoat villain edge, which I understand considering her character is very different from Reaper. Now she's even got a little keypad on her outfit. I'm at a bit of a crossroads though, as I liked her previous design moderately more from a cool-lookingness perspective. I get it, it's techy, texture thing, but I've never been much of a fan of the cyberpunk aesthetic. They always seemed cartoonishly punk in my opinion. So this is more of a me thing than a Blizzard thing, but I'm going to have to rank this as some given, some taken. Symmetra. So if I intend to do YouTube more often, I should probably give full disclosure as soon as possible. I am a sim main. Needless to say, her redesign is of mild importance to me, but not really because I don't even use the default skin anyways. I find the new color scheme and design of her new dress cool. The new jewelry and golden trim to her arm is also pretty neat. The high socks are now actual pants. Make of that what you will. Her new hair makes it seem like she's going through a bit of a phase, but other than that, no major changes have been made. The new design is on par with some of the ones in the major upgrade tier, but since Sim's original design was already pretty cool, she gets a minor upgrade. Torbjorn. It's been about 6 years and I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Once again, a character you'd expect to be scuffed and muddied is surprisingly well cleansed and polished. His new pack, claw, and hammer, which looks like it came out of a Nick Jr. show, all look weirdly clean and high-tech for the character whose entire aesthetic is diesel punk. If I have anything nice to say, it's that his new beard design is better, and I like the detail of his little brand rep on his belt. Some given, some taken. Tracer. Tracer's a half and half for me. I dislike what they did to her classic, weathered brown bomber jacket with a British insignia on the side. It seems significantly more bland and dull. I also dislike what they did to her forearm armor because I felt the original fit her aviator aesthetic very well. I really like that they replaced her gnarly looking Crocs with some nice Allbirds, and that her new tights have more pop and are more energetic. If they literally just kept the torso and swapped her legs, I would give this redesign a major upgrade. But because they didn't, some given, some taken. Widowmaker. They leaned significantly more into a stealth design, and I like that they got rid of her Rain Collector kneecaps. The new design, with the lack of shine and addition of more black, makes her seem more like the stealth killer she is. The high heels do seem higher, but ignore that for the sake of my previous point. Minor upgrade. Winston. This one was rather disappointing. Winston had one of the coolest aesthetics of all the characters. A vintage space monkey is incredible. The marks on his arm, the bagginess of his suit, the old piping for his pack, and the faded space exploration insignia all went away. The only reason I didn't give this a major downgrade was because tragedies like Genji and Bastion are the bar. Minor downgrade. Wrecking Ball. This is hardly more than a recolor, and the only reason I'm ranking it anything positive is because, look, they gave the little hamster goggles. Minor upgrade. Zarya. Zarya's new hair is not as cool as her original. Her new tats are pretty nice though, and I do enjoy the new wintry design they're going with her new white color scheme and the new ski boot buckles. Minor upgrade. Zenyatta. I never really enjoyed playing as Zenyatta due to me being terrible at him, but I always seemed to die every time I encountered one in a game. The original Zenyatta design showed a humble Nepali monk with his simple ragged shoes, his torn groin cloth, the pants of a beggar, and a simple rope functioning as a belt. The new Zenyatta has a freshly tailored, shiny pair of new golden pantaloons. He's got a fresh pair of ballet shoes, a new groin cloth, a new fall season scarf, and a golden rope I don't even think he needs. In other words, it doesn't make terribly much sense for Zenyatta to be so fabulous, but his old design was, to be frank, terrible. I decide, since I let the coolness factor hurt Sombra a little bit, I'll let it help Zenyatta a little bit. Some given, some taken. I decided at the end of this I was going to have some kind of ranking system to see how the, general aesthetic has improved or worsened, in many cases, for Overwatch characters. And in order to do this, I made a tier list. My idea was to have people who got major upgrade to be worth 2 points, minor upgrade to be worth 1 point, some given, some taken, and also Echo to be worth 0 points, minor downgrade, -1 points, and you get it from there. With 32 characters, the best possible score Blizzard could have gotten would have been a 64, and the "oh my god, you've ruined my childhood" score would have been a -64. In the end, after doing some careful calculations, I found that the score Blizzard has gotten for redesigning characters for Overwatch 2 was 0. To be honest, you're going to have to take my word on this, but I did not anticipate that result. I knew it was going to be pretty close, and I thought, wouldn't it be funny if these were 0? But then I didn't actually think this would come to this. Of course, here we are. I guess this... I don't know what to make of this. The video is over. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Also, YouTube has told me that 0% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed.